well played, especially with your localization.
Yeah,
not bad.
Not bad.
Mm-mm.
Not bad at all.
Mm-mm.
You know what else is not bad?
What's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. On today's show, we are finishing Dead Space Catalyst, sort of. I don't know. We're going to recap it.
Hallelujah.
Really half-assed. Putting it up front, Phil actually didn't even read it.
Yeah, I thought about
this time.
I had two options beyond just being honest. The first one was that I would, say, hey, I didn't get the reading done. Can we push it back a day? And I was like, that's being selfish. Like we need to finish this. And Kevin shouldn't have to sit with this rolling around his head any longer than he has to. And the other one was just to claim that I had and let you just take the lead and me to pipe in every now and then going, I know that's right. Stuff like that.
Yeah, you got it. You know what? I'm not against it because this book is literally the worst one we've read.
Oh, it is so bad.
It is just so bad. So here's the thing is we have a pretty good track record of actually finishing the books. In the real world, if we were trying to read a book it would be a DNF. It would be a did not finish up on my Goodreads account.
I think honestly, the first one may have been one for me too if it wasn't this. There are a handful that and that's the thing in the books that I read for myself. It takes a lot for me to drop out. I have to see through the end just in case. But there have been several on our show that have made me go, I would have dropped this by now. I would have been done.
I would have dropped this by now. But we are we were just talking about how the books that we're ending the year with, and we got another King's Quest book coming up. Phil will be taking the lead on that one. And we're finishing the year with Nier Automata, Long Story Short, which is the adaptation of Nier Automata into a novel. So those could be interesting.
I'm looking forward to that. I never finished Nier Automata, but just the pedigree it has around it.
I played it through long enough. I got the first ending that you get. There's 6 endings to finish the game. You basically keep replaying it, and you play it from a few different characters' points of view and stuff. I got the first ending, and I was like, well, that's the end of that chapter, and I moved on to something else. I mean, it was fun while I played it, but
we've talked about this though. We are past the point in our lives where we're willing to play a game all the way through again just to get another ending. At this point, I have to really want it, which is why 2023's number one game for me was Alien: Dark Descent. I have played that game all the way through 4 times, I believe. So when it works, it works.
Phil's game of the year, Aliens: Dark Descent,
beat out Baldur's Gate 3, motherfucker.
Beat out Baldur's Gate 3, a buggy mess of a game that Phil was extremely disappointed by when he first played it. Grew like a festering boil and
fell in love.
It popped and released the pustules of Game of the Year sauce.
It's true. It's like meeting a girl who's really mean to you, and you're like, "Oh, fuck that bitch," and then like the next week, you're like, "Hey, whatever happened to that girl?" You're like, "Well, we're in love, and we moved in together." Yeah. So that's
the game negged you. The game successfully negged you into loving it.
It totally did. And I think part of it comes from the fact that I'm certain there will not be a sequel to this. There will be no DLC. There will be no sequel. It just didn't warrant that. It just
exists in its own little sphere. Right. It's complete. It is what it is.
So I have to re-enjoy it. Just to get a little more hit of that.
Honestly, which game. Is what I thought Alien Isolation was going to be like until we found out relatively recently that Creative Assembly has been given the go-ahead to start working on a new Alien Isolation game.
That is some exciting shit.
They were taken off the Total War assembly line and said, "You kids go have fun.
Go have fun. Go have fun. Knock yourselves out."
Before we get into the episode, just shout out to our patrons who have really loved and supported us through the years. And we love and support you back. Go to patreon.com/pixelitpod. If you're not a patron, you can join for free. Mm-hmm. Joining for free gets you the episode a little bit early if I manage to get it out early. Otherwise, $1 gets you access to some of our blog posts. $5 gets you access to the ad-free episode and the bonus content that we record before every episode. And $10 gets your name shouted out in every episode. And to that end, I want to thank Jesus Loves You, Kyle Seaman, Ruthless Mutter, Middle of Things, Sigma Sal, Chut Beaks, Dumbeth Thick, and Friendly Friend. Thank you for being a friend.
Mwah.
So, to that end, I think it's time we put this body in the marsh.
Yeah. Let's marsh it up.
In the marsh. Let's marsh it up.
Yeah. When I tell you to dump a body in the marsh.
Yeah. All right. So changing it up a little bit. Oh no.
Oh, she got in early this time around. Hey, kid.
Hello.
Hey, girlie, how you doing?
Good.
Good. What does your shirt say?
Billionaire Girls Club, which is
No.
What is it? What's his name? The guy who did the Lego movie recently, Pharrell.
Oh, yeah.
It's his line.
I like it. Oh,
thank you.
That was good. That was real good. Just a little, just to remind you, I love you. And here, this is proof.
It's perfect timing, actually. So what are you playing?
Anyway, what were we going to do again? Never mind.
What were we going to do again?
Tell me about the game.
All right, so I'm not recapping this to the fullest extent of the law. Phil, you didn't read it because good for you. I read it
because I'm a human being, and we're not yet getting paid for this.
Basically, to sum up what happens in the last third, in no particular order, is that the guy Brinson or whatever his name, the evil unitologist doctor, figures out that Istvan is like connected to the marker somehow, and he's talking to the marker, and he puts the other doctor, Dr. Callie, in the brig because she's a woman of science and he's a man of faith. And she's like, "You're letting your faith blind you." And he's like, "No, to jail with you." And we get a lot of scenes with Henry, and there's also something where the ship that what's his name is.
Sorry.
Is this for me?
Yes, this is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Ooh, sandwich time. Very nice.
Ooh. I got fed a sandwich.
I was about to say, not bad. Not bad at all.
So what was I talking about? Okay, yeah. So basically, you remember Jency was on a ship, right? He was on the freighter ship. They get there and they get blown out of the sky by a mine. And Jency ends up taking an escape pod down to the surface. And then we don't hear from him for a few chapters while the escape pod stuff is happening.
Right.
Meanwhile, the marker is fucking people up more and more. It's like making them lose their minds. And they're like banging their heads against walls. Suicides are up. They start just throwing bodies down the hole that they dug earlier. And then eventually it gets to a point where the marker sends out another pulse, and one guy who kills himself starts necromorphing, and he turns into one of the butterfly necromorphs, which starts flitting around and shoving its proboscis into people's foreheads and turning them into necromorphs. So Callie is in the brig while this is happening, and like she's safe more or less, but the guard that is outside her door just kills himself by banging his head against the door until he dies. And
I think the same thing happened to Epstein, right? That was basically the same thing.
Yeah, this is pretty much what the soft disclosure of how Epstein was killed was via necromorph. Yeah. So the guard dies, turns into a necromorph, but it can't get to her. Henry, as we all remember, works on the prison planet, is basically freaking out. He tries to figure out what to do. He shoots out. And after the security team's wiped out by the necromorphs, he decides to shoot out the glass. I'm trying to remember what's the German word for that, because it's what Hans Gruber says in Die Hard.
Oh God, I don't even remember.
Shoot the glass.
I'm sure that's what I had in mind.
So he shoots out the glass and it depressurizes the entire base except for like certain hallways and rooms that he's in. Nice. So, okay, everybody's dead except Brinson and Istvan, who have gone to the other building where the marker is being kept. Dr. Callie is in the brig, and Henry is in the control room locked up, and he's just basically waiting to die while necromorphs wander the hallways. Enter Jency. Jency crash lands, and he gets himself a gun. Jency's got a gun.
I was literally going to make the same joke. When you're born of a certain time period and that those sounds come up, you have no choice but to reference that.
And he figures out pretty quickly that shooting him in the head doesn't work. You gotta shoot him in the legs. To steal a quote from what's his face, the makeup guy from Night of the Living Dead, Tom Savini.
Tom Savini, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta shoot him in the head.
Shoot him in the legs. Kind of Jack Nicholson.
So, yeah, a little bit. Is Tom Savini still alive?
Yeah, should be. He's got a studio, like a school.
Yeah, I would love to see Tom Savini get a crack at a necromorph.
Oh my God, he would have so much fun with that, and as extension, so would we.
So would we.
He would do a really good job with that.
Tom Savini is still alive, but you know what? We're going to take a moment of silence for Tony Todd.
Yeah,
because I was thinking of Tom Savini, and then I remembered that Tom Savini directed the remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990, starring none other than Tony Todd as Ben. And one of my favorite moments in the movie is there is a little, like, the house catches on fire, like a little bit on the wall, and Tony Todd is like pissed off about all these zombies, and he doesn't even, I don't even think he looks, he just punches the fire out. Like he just goes bam.
Yeah, that sounds like a Tom Savini movie, all right. That's amazing.
But they remade Night of the Living Dead because Romero had lost the rights to Night of the Living Dead due to a copyright issue. So they basically the remake in 1990 was so he could earn some residuals off of it, off of the script at least.
That's cool.
Because I believe it was the same script. It was just the movie was just redone with Tom Savini directing and starring Tony Todd.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tony Todd, who, by the way, by all accounts, was like a super nice guy.
By all accounts, is a super nice guy. If you are a fan of the YouTube channel Dead Meat, listen to their podcasts or watch the Kill Count, you probably know that James A. Janice, who is the host of the Kill Count, was absolutely floored by the death of Tony Todd, who was someone that he was a real big fan of, had spoken with a lot. He even sent an email out to the patrons, just expressing his heartbreak over Tony Todd's death. So yeah, it's a bummer, you know.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer. He
was too young.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a fucking legend. Honest to God, just real legend.
Yeah, he was the Candyman.
Which, if you haven't seen that, by the way, guys, it's still. I watched it recently with my wife, and it holds the fuck up. It's amazing how well it holds up. It's really impressive.
Yeah. And yeah, his the Night of the Living Dead remake was 2 years before Candyman.
Shit.
So it's a pre-Candyman Tony Todd.
I did not know that. I think I kind of assumed it came out afterwards. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. He had supporting roles before that. He was in Lean on Me. He was in Bird. He was in Platoon.
Oh, that's right. He was in Platoon. Holy shit.
Yeah. And then Candyman is really his breakout role as kind of a horror icon. I mean, Night of the Living Dead, sure, but Candyman is the thing that, and then, you know, he has memorable appearances in so many things, including The Rock. It was like, you know, that song Rocket Man? I don't listen to that soft rock shit. Well, that's it. You're the Rocket Man.
That's such a fucking legend. Pouring out for a legend.
Pouring out for a legend. See, I just talked about Tony Todd rather than this book. Anyway, continuing on.
Way more important discussion.
Jency figures out, yes, chop off the legs. He finds Henry, and he convinces Henry that he is a real person because Henry doesn't think he's a real person. He thinks he's like paranoid and all that stuff because of the effects of the marker. Eventually, Henry comes with him. Meanwhile, what's her name? The girl that was in the brig, Callie, is rescued by another scientist named Amy, who was like part of Brinson's group, but kind of has seen that he has lost the plot. So she rescues her, and they fight through the base together to try to try to figure out a way to stop this madness and to get out.
Real quick, isn't this basically exactly what happened in the first book, in the sense that like there was nothing, there's nothing, and boom, in the third and final act, we finally get like action, swarm of necromorphs. So
Henry and Jency hop on a little lunar rover cart thing, and they start driving across the surface of the planet to the other base that is on the moon. It's not really, is it a moon? It's kind of like just like a small planet, small rock. They start driving across, and they get broadcast at saying this is like a restricted area. You can't come any closer. And right before they try to respond, they get hit by a rocket, and they get thrown off the cart. And Henry is injured. And also they are running out of oxygen because remember, there is no air on this planet. Sure. So Jency runs forward, figures out a way to get in, goes back, gets Henry, opens up the airlock. On the other side of the airlock is our other two people, the Amy and Callie. What was her name? Callie. There it is.
Yep.
Dr. Callie.
Callie.
They see the airlock open, and the two men come in, and Amy's like, "No, I'm just going to kill them because I don't trust them." And Callie's like, "Wait a minute." And then Jency's like, "Yeah, I'm Istvan's brother." And they're like, "Oh, your brother's the reason this is all happening."
Well, we're definitely going to kill you now.
And then Amy accidentally steps on a mine, and her legs are blown off. Like the bottom half of her torso is blown off. And then Callie's like, "Oh, we got to shoot her arms off." So they do that as well.
I thought you were going to say she's like stood up and could. She can make it.
She can make it. They keep going, and they get to they find Dr. Brinson, who is like doing evil man monologuing. He's like, meh.
Twirling the mustache.
Yeah. And then one of the necromorphs like reaches down from the ceiling and kills Henry. And Jency's like, yeah, I'm not gonna dismember him. He was my best friend. And Callie's like, well, you better hope he doesn't come back to kill you. They carry on. There's a bunch of scientists in this like research room who are just like observing the marker, and basically they just hold the guns up on the scientists. We're like, don't you fucking move, or we'll execute every last motherfucking one of you.
Sure, classic.
Classic,
classic.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah. We all saw that coming, I think.
Before they go in, they go, I love you, honey bunny. Sure. I love you too, honey buddy.
Aim for the
This is a robbery.
Aim for the arms and legs, honey bunny.
So they get through the room and they get into the main room with the marker. And it's Callie and Jency with the guns, and there's Istvan and Brinson. And basically Callie's like, well, there's your brother. And Jency's like, it's me, your brother. And Istvan's like, no, you're not. I don't believe you. And Callie's like, well, you tried. Let's just kill him now because that'll solve everything. And Jency's like, no. And he tackles Callie to the ground and like knocks her out. And then at some point, Istvan kills Brinson. And then before that, Istvan beats Jency nearly to death because he thinks he's not his brother.
Right.
And then he kills Brinson when he realized that Jency is his brother. And then Jency wakes up, and all this while Istvan's like, oh, the marker, blah, 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 bullshit.
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb.
I guess.
Yeah. And then you get Jency waking up, and Istvan's like, no, don't you see, brother? We can control the marker. We can do it. You and I can reshape the world.
Oh,
and
boy.
Jency is not in good shape. Istvan really beat the shit out of him. Like broke one of his arms. He's minorly concussion. Jency's like, close your eyes, brother. And Istvan's like, okay, I'll close my eyes.
Sounds good.
Give him the rabbit, Lenny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically where we're going with this.
I'm sure I can trust you. La 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 la.
So Istvan closes his eyes, and then Jency's like, you trust me, right? And Istvan's like, of course, you're my brother. And then Jency shoots Istvan in the chest, and then Istvan dies. But then the marker reprograms Jency's mind to be the new catalyst.
Should have seen it coming, people.
Should have seen it coming. And then Jency's like, no, I don't want to do this. And then he's like, I'm going to destroy this whole facility. And because he thinks it, the marker knows it. Right. And then he goes out of the room, and he's like pointing at the necromorphs with the gun. But every time he tries to point it at the necromorphs at the gun, he'll like blink, and the gun will be back in his mouth.
Oh,
it'll
Jesus.
be like, it's like in his mouth. So like no matter what. And then the book ends with Jency points the gun away, or at least he thinks he does, and he pulls the trigger.
That's how the book ends?
That's how the book ends. I'm going to take a bite of my sandwich now.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ. That is, well, it's not good. And here's the thing. You were describing some moments that I was like, well, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting. I mean, that's how I felt about Act 3 with the last Dead Space. When we got some necromorphs, there was actually some pretty cool shit to be had. But by that time, it was just too little too late.
Yep.
So yeah.
Here's the problem. I didn't give a shit about Istvan and Jency.
Right.
I didn't give a shit about the relationship either, because we never really saw. We were told that they have a good relationship, sort of, and that they're brothers and they do anything for each other, except the only things we actually see or are shown are them not jiving. You know what I mean?
Right. It's Istvan leaving in a huff, and yeah, it's true. There are not a lot of moments of actual like.
Yeah.
The only thing comes to mind. No, that's not even a thing. Istvan running headfirst into the friggin' airlock thing, and like, it's just weird.
It's just weird. And like, you have Dr. Callie, who becomes kind of like a main character in the last part of the book. But we don't really have enough lead up time with her necessarily. I totally forget what the fuck happens to Grotter and all those people. Doesn't really matter either.
No, I guess not.
Or the Gray Man or whatever.
Well, we know that he didn't blow up the marker or whatever. We know that didn't happen. So,
so fuck, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. No. Jency may or may not have killed himself, and there's no resolution to the story other than there is no resolution to the story. He kills his brother, and then the marker is just kind of
all powerful.
Whatever you make of it, dearest reader.
It sounds to me like
reader, beware, you're in for a scare.
and by scare, I mean we're going to put a gun in your mouth. It makes me think of like playing pretend when you're a kid, and like X-Men, the cartoon was really big when we were kids. And so everyone I knew, they were like crazy about like coming up with their own mutant. I'm this guy, and these are my powers. And most kids played the game pretty well, but there was always that one kid who basically reinvents himself as Superman. It's like, no, he's immortal and he's super fast.
Like, no, I'm Superman. Like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Stop it.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Stop it. Well, you know what's funny is my friends and I we had a similar thing where we would create Mega Man villains.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, we did that too.
And we would like draw them out and like all that in the style of Mega Man, and it was fun. I remember pretty much nailing Grenade Man like years before Grenade Man,
before he was a thing.
But yeah, no, it's I totally recall that. Oh, like a sandwich bit there. There we go. That's the problem with facial hair, kids, is that it just savors the flavor, even when you don't want it to.
Even when you're not asking it to, exactly.
Yeah. Even when you're not asking it to. So, Phil, what did you think of the last third of the book?
Well, it sounds like it was it feels like it was a real cop-out in a way. Like, it just sounds like it was just like kind of rushed and vague, and there's no resolution, and booyah.
I would be hard pressed to actually tell you what like maybe the themes of the book were,
right,
or anything like that. There's not much there.
No.
And here's the thing is, like, I feel like Dead Space lore is in and of itself is a little, the whole Church of Unitology, EarthGov, like, I feel like the lore is a little messy. I feel like it's a little messy in that it doesn't have a real concrete way of creating villains or heroes.
Right.
It plays like it's okay to play in the gray space, but this is just all gray, and like it's all gray. It's just,
and that's one thing when you are writing, audio logs that a player will find while, killing monsters and doing all that shit. It's another thing entirely when you're writing a novel.
Yeah.
That's a very, very different set of circumstances. You have to have some definition there.
And like, that's the thing. And that's the nature of Dead Space, is that, and we bring it back to this, is that a lot of the horror and backstory in horror video games is done in a tried and true epistolary format.
Yep.
It's done in the form of letters and logs and all that stuff.
It worked for Dracula. It's going to work for Alien Isolation. God damn it.
God damn it.
Yeah.
And don't you dare say otherwise. And it's basically kind of that way for Dead Space too.
Sure.
And one of the things that I noticed is that in the book, we talk a lot about like, they're going mad and they're killing themselves, but there's nothing there. There's no juice there. Yeah. It's like, all right. I mean, I'm not, the language being used isn't even drawing me in as a reader. The prose is not, we need some more lurid prose in order to get me there,
Yeah. I'm working on and I don't mean to bring this back to what I'm working on, but I'm working on.
Actually, we could just talk about that for the rest of the episode.
That'd be fun. I'm working on a book right now, and a huge part of it is just chaos and like literal hell on earth stuff. And so there's monsters galore and creature feature shit, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And that's super fun to write. But as I have been writing it, I've realized that I need to implant flashbacks and just life moments for these characters so that they feel real and we actually give a shit what happens to them, and they're not just sent to the meat grinder.
Right.
And I feel like this book has the opposite problem. It's like it's all background, but still not done very well. Because, like you said, Istvan and his brother don't really. We are told they have a good relationship, or they love each other.
They have enough of a brotherly relationship that Jency would become obsessed with finding Istvan.
Right,
his brother who killed a man and was taken to jail.
That's which is weird as hell, by the way. Like,
not that I'm like pro that.
No,
I personally have am going towards prison abolitionist on my own, but you know what I mean. It's just like,
sure.
In broad daylight, his brother shot a man for zero reason.
Yeah. So at some point you go, you know what? I'm sad and I wish I knew more because it's my brother, but
I should just try to live life a little bit.
That would be nice. That would be real nice. Yeah.
So we brought this on ourselves.
We did this to us. Yeah.
We did this to us. We can't blame anybody. We can't even blame BK Evanson. This book is out of print.
Dude was just trying to get a paycheck, man. Dude needed to pay his rent for 6 months in advance so he could write something he actually wanted to write. And I can't fault him that.
Yeah. So but there's a reason why this one is out of print and the other one isn't. And it's because this one is so much worse than the first one.
Well, is it the first one out of print too?
No, I think Martyr is still for sale.
Oh no shit! I thought it was just like less expensive. Like they're both blindingly expensive when you try to buy them. But no, you know what? You're right. Martyr can be bought on Kindle at least.
Yeah, you can get a Kindle version of it.
Yeah, just hard copies are a little harder to come by.
Yeah. Anyway, Michael Altman had a theory that no one would hear. It cursed our world for centuries to come. Blah, blah, blah. Spoopy. All right. Well, I have one further question, Phil.
Oh, please.
What are you playing?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Actually, I have been big surprise hammering away at UFO 50. I'm up to 51 hours. I really love it. I cherried, as I mentioned before, Grimstone, and I also cherried Night Manor, which I adored. I loved it. It's like for anyone who hasn't played this yet, it's like a Shadow Gate adventure style thing, but they built in like a chase Alien Isolation kind of thing to it as well. Very clever, a lot of fun. Just only a few Moon Logic kind of things in there. The rest of it's pretty. But
what's funny is that I didn't even put together that anytime that the guy pretty much showed up anytime I made noise.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
I didn't even put that together towards like, oh, I broke the window, I broke the mirror. And then he showed up.
It was around the time that he showed up right after I flushed a toilet that I realized that that's probably what I was dealing with.
Right.
So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that one. Really, really, really did. And I got a gold disc on, what is it called? Rock On Island. Caveman tower defense game. I love a tower defense. And here's the thing. The thing about that game was that it kind of put into clear resolution what kind of unifies all these games in the sense that there's no instruction guide. And so a lot of these games, you feel like you're, kicking water uphill until you realize one thing clicks into place.
Right.
And for me, it was upgrading my caveman as opposed to just upgrading my cavemen, my soldiers. And then suddenly everything fell into place and I started just whipping ass. So it's funny how that works. And also I got a quick gold disc on that one little racing game with little UFOs. Which is fine.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm playing a lot of Bushido Ball right now, which is frustrating as hell, but fun.
It's frustrating. It's just it's an interesting concept because there's like controls that I'm sure there's like controls in there that I just never picked up. You get to a point where the fucking the challenge level just amps up unfairly at a certain point. So I'm doing that. And right now I'm just kind of digging through it and seeing what else. So that's still something that has just absolutely devoured a lot of my time. I beat mouthwashing. Oh,
yeah.
I need to get back to that. But how was your vibe on that?
That was unlike any horror game I've ever played.
It was deeply unpleasant.
It was very unpleasant. Really well written. Yeah. I mean, really well written. Mm-hmm. Deals with deeply unpleasant topics. But the storytelling is kind of masterful. And you get kind of a twist at the end, and it's all told out of order, which you wouldn't think would work with a video game. But it works so well. It took me about 3 hours to beat, and it was worth it. It's because I get it for $10, something like that, $12. It was absolutely worth it. The PS1 style graphics are kind of silly at first, and then the more you play it, the more you're like, this is very upsetting, actually. Mm-hmm. I think especially for someone my age, where it's just like, this is tapping into like part of my childhood on some level.
Especially the captain, like seeing how the captain is rendered.
It's brutal.
Where all of his skin is like burned off, and he's just wearing bandages.
Yeah, the violence.
He appears in a lot of marketing material.
Yeah, as he should. That's gonna grab people's attention, to say the very least.
Yeah.
The violence is very effective and brutal. Trigger warning on SA stuff, on just violence in general, body horror, just horrible human beings. You're going to run into that a lot. At first you start to think that maybe it's going to be like a walking sim, and there are lots of parts of it that are like that, but the gameplay that they do work into it is pretty fun and very effective in its way. So it's not a complex mechanical game.
Sure.
But it is more than just your standard walking sim, which I appreciated. I liked that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think that might be it. Yeah, because I beat that, and I've been, chewing on UFO 50 for the rest of my goddamn life. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Kevin, what are you playing?
Nice. All right, so there's a few things I've been playing. Number one is Slitterhead.
Okay.
Which is Slitterhead's a really interesting game. It's I would say right off the bat, it is a little too expensive. It feels for what it is. It's like $40. But at the same time, it I think it does have a good number of hours to it. Not that I'm like a price per hour type of guy, but still sure. It feels like a lot of money for it. But still, it's a horror action game where you play as this spirit that has arrived on this plane to find and kill Slitterheads. And Slitterheads are these monsters that hide using human bodies. And there's like a lot of groovy like mutation type things where basically like you'll find a Slitterhead and the person's head will go like thingify and turn into this big old thing, and then you'll fight it for a while, and then it'll just like discard the body and turn into its full awfulness. So one of the interesting gameplay mechanics is you are a spirit. You're not like a specific person. So you can go jump from person to person. So like these Slitterheads will be like attacking a crowd, or a Slitterhead will be attacking a crowd, but you as the spirit can possess somebody and like use their body to fight the Slitterhead. And then if like you're about to die or something, you jump over to somebody else. Now, the other mechanic is that there's a few unique people who like synchronize with the spirit, who I believe is called Night Owl or something like that. You're the first person you synchronize with names the spirit Night Owl. Mm-hmm. So the people who synchronize with the spirit have like unique abilities. So like the first girl that is like a unique person and synchronizes with the spirit, she's able to like turn her hands into like these giant bone claws when the spirit enters her for like more effective fighting. Okay. So it's pretty neat. It's also really wacky in terms of like the writing and stuff like that. It's like not particularly localized well, and there's no voice acting. Love that. But I said I need to finish it. But I said to somebody, I think it's my 7 out of 10 game of the year. Sure. Like, oh yeah, totally. There's like chunks of like presentation that needed a little extra time to bake or whatever. Just like jank. There's just some jank in it. Yeah. But I gotta tell you, it's like some of it just makes it all the more endearing.
Sometimes jank makes the sauce, man. Yeah.
Sometimes jank makes the sauce. I would say what it really reminds me of, and I don't know if I'm the only person that thinks this, but it gives me kind of Parasite Eve vibes. Oh,
sure.
But more janky and more action. Like Parasite Eve was turn-based, if I recall correctly. And this is more actiony. So anyway, Slitterhead, tell your friends. Yeah. I've also been playing. I wanted to play the sequel to Wilmot's Warehouse, so I started playing the first. I never played Wilmot's Warehouse, so I started playing that, and it's like it's not a Sokoban. It's more of like an organization game where you have this little dude Wilmot, and he's just a little square, and you have to like organize the products in the warehouse so that when customers ask for a certain product, you like know exactly where to go and all that stuff. A lot of people have said that it's a cute game. A lot of people said the sequel, which came out this year, Wilmot Works It Out, is really cute as well. So I want to want to play the first one and then get into Wilmot Works It Out.
Get the background. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to really get into the deep lore of Wilmot. You know, why is this square so goddamn happy?
Why is he about to work it out?
Why is he about to work it out? Actually, Wilmot Works It Out is about him on vacation.
Oh, even better.
Out of his little warehouse. I started playing Mind Over Magnet, which is the game that was made by Mark Brown of Game Maker's Toolkit. It's a cute little puzzle game where you play a little robot, and you're just trying to get through levels by turning like magnets and other devices on and off to like move blocks and things like that. And then at one level, you actually get a little magnet. So you use this magnet to like manipulate things so that it's fun. It's an adorable little game.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just, a straight up puzzle game. There's like 10 puzzles per level, and I think I'm at the end of level 2 at this point. So Mind Over Magnet, and finally, Vampire Survivors.
Oh, sure.
Playing the Ode to Castlevania. I literally, while I was waiting for Phil was putting his sweet baby boy down to sleep. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to fire up Vampire Survivors. I unlocked the last character of Ode to Castlevania, Richter Belmont.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that they can actually use the names of the characters now. That good for them.
Yeah, I know. It's like you got so many. You got Simon. You got Richter. You got Maria Renard, who is, I believe, Maria is the girl from Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, which is the game Richter was in. Maria, die, monster! You don't belong in this world.
The speaking of localization, the scripts in those were always flawless.
Well, I mean, I love the one line that slaps even to this day is Dracula saying to Richter, "What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets?"
That is a great line. That is an amazing line. And he leaves it at that, by the way. Then
he throws his wine glass and he says, "Have at you."
Yeah. I'm just imagining Richter being like, "Do you want to expand on that?" Or okay.
You want to? No.
No. Okay. Oh shit. Yeah.
You're coming in. You're coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Okay. Great. Let's do this. I love it.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing.
Nice.
And it's a lot of fun. I might actually go back and get the other DLCs for Vampire Survivors now, just to because I
really liked the Contra.
I hadn't really gotten all of the other ones, I don't think, and now I'm going to go back and pick them up.
Yeah, that's just the game to just have on hand for when your podcast partner, it took him an hour to put his son to sleep. That kind of thing it's kind of perfect.
I might go back and play and finish Mouthwashing though, just because I
recommend it. It won't take you long. It's like I said, it took me 3 hours. Most people I'm seeing online have said it took them 2. It's like fucking show up. But which probably means you'll do it in 2. But it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It is not horror like you usually see with video games. We're not talking about jump scares. We're not talking about monsters in the traditional sense for the most part.
Is it more of a dread?
It is deeply dreadful. The human experience and existentialism and what we'll do to protect ourselves, and it's a bummer, but it was just magnificently written. And what did that guy do? He did the fish game, weird ass fish game.
Yeah.
So
How Fish is Made.
Yeah, How Fish is Made. I shouldn't be surprised. I loved that game.
It's wild that Mouthwashing wasn't nominated, I don't think, for narrative.
Wasn't it? Oh, fuck those people. They don't know what they're doing anyway.
They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No, fuck them. Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them up.
Fuck them in their blowholes.
Up the blowhole. That's right.
Blowhole. Yeah.
You all categories. Best narrative. Yeah. No. You know, it was nominated for best narrative. Was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I haven't played it.
Well, I've heard that one is actually really, really good story-wise.
Yeah. Metaphor Refantasio, which a lot of people have been losing
there's
their
no
shit
way.
over
There's
recently.
no way anyone has beaten that game by now, based on everything I've heard. That I call foul. They couldn't possibly have beaten it.
Isn't it like a Persona?
It's a Persona-like kind of thing. It's like fantasy. And that was the thing. I was thinking about. I even downloaded the demo. I won't even play the demo because the demo is like 8 hours.
I mean, I feel like at some point you're gonna have some time and probably get sucked into it, sort of like when you got sucked into Persona 5.
Yes, pretty much exactly the same thing.
But yeah, Atlas rolling out, another game like that.
Jesus Christ, how do they do that? How do they have where do they find the time? I know they're not working 40 hours a week.
The thing is, 2 of the games in Best Narrative are published by Sega.
That's pretty cool.
Which is wild,
Yeah.
Sega is still doing their thing.
Still up and kicking, man.
Anyway, that's the end of the episode. Please find us on Blue Sky and every other social media platform. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.